Business is booming. But you know what really helped? Xero, the accounting platform for small businesses. I used to think spreadsheets were just part of it. Ugh. But real-time cash flow? Wow. Invoices that chase themselves? Even better. Books that automate? That's a big one. And I can keep track from my phone while I get the job done. No spreadsheet in sight. What a life. Do right by yourself and your business and search Xero for your free trial. Conditions apply.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Are your ad campaigns lighting up the dashboard, but not the pipeline? That's bullspend, and marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
My boss asked for results, so I opened my dashboard for the only positive-sounding metric I had: impressions.
Cut the bull spend. See revenue, not just reach. LinkedIn delivers the highest return on ad spend of major ad networks. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tech Magic, the podcast where we talk about technology, innovation, gaming, and everything in between. I am your host, Cathy Hackl, and I'm joined today and always by my co-host, Lee Kebler. Lee, how you doing?
Howdy. I'm great. It's been an interesting week for tech, so lots to talk about today. It's Monday.
It's Monday.
I guess when this goes live, it'll be Wednesday, but it very much feels like a roller coaster of a Monday already.
I don't even know what I did on the weekend, right? It's like, okay,
oh,
Monday.
I do. So in Oregon right now, it's like berry picking season. Like that's and it's like the thing to do. And so we went strawberry picking, and I got a horrible allergic reaction.
Oh no!
My arms
so
all
sorry.
broke out. Lots of Benadryl last night.
Lots of Benadryl. Yeah, we had mostly a lot of kids stuff. My oldest daughter graduated middle school, so I'm gonna have a high schooler in the fall. So that's crazy.
Is this your first high schooler?
Yeah, first high schoolers. My other ones are younger, so yeah, first high schooler, and then we just had a lot of stuff, and then this week a lot of kids stuff as well. But I want to get straight into the news, because there's so much to cover in this episode. There's so much. So I think let's start with Apple's Developers Conference, which happened. We're recording on Monday, so it happened a couple hours ago. This goes live on Wednesday, but I think it's still going to be relevant. Our takeaways and our analysis of the announcements they made. So lots of announcements. Like they just announced so much. I'm still processing all the information.
Yeah. You and I were talking about it, and like you had moments where and I'm just going to call you out a little bit, where you were just kind of like, this is a little meh.
Yeah, literally on our Slack channel, I was like, I'm feeling underwhelmed here.
And I do want to point out, because we had talked about this on a past episode, on today's, all of these Apple announcements and all of these updates, I converted back to an Android phone. So
really, after everything they announced?
After everything, well, I mean, the phone was already in the mail. It just happened to like hit my front doorstep right while all of the announcements were happening.
Oh.
I don't regret the decision, but it does lead me to maybe a generation or two, I'll be back. It's probably not for the reasons that most people are assuming from all of the announcements today. We'll see. I love the Google Pixel phone. I'm so thrilled to be back. But they're going to have to do a couple of the low-key announcements that Apple made today to keep me. So we'll see. We'll see.
I'm sure Google's going to, this is going to be like a nice little battle that we're going to continue to see.
Yes. I hope we see that, because right now, if you have like a Pixel phone, you already basically have Google's version of ChatGPT rolled into it. They've already replaced their assistant, the Hey Google assistant and all of that. So like that's been a big deal. But there were a lot of little announcements. Give me a little bit of what you thought about it. We talked about this on the Slack channel. I think this is going to be like a you play bad cop, I play good cop for once, because you kind of sounded a little
more excited than I was.
I was more excited than you were, which is not normal.
That is not very common.
Especially for Apple things. I'm not an Apple-y person. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm normally like incredibly into Apple. So I'm glad they started with the Vision Pro, right? Because obviously, for me personally, on a personal level, nothing will top last year's announcement, right? Because I feel like last year's announcement of the Vision Pro and spatial computing, we all had been waiting for that for so long in the industry that I don't think anything will top that, right? For me. So I think I was really excited about all the AI, but I think I wanted them to maybe hit it on earlier.
This is where I will play a little bad cop.
Okay.
The Apple Vision Pro stuff fell flat for me.
Well, yeah. I mean, it wasn't that much.
Well, and see, that's what got me is the announcement of an update to the OS to go to Vision OS 2. When you do a full number jump like that, and it's not like an incremental, like 1.5, this felt like a very incremental, not a Vision OS announcement. Nothing in it was like, oh my gosh, they figured it out. Like there was none of that.
Yeah. I think for most of the developers or the people watching this that are not developers, they were like, like it meant nothing to them, right?
Yeah. And I did pick up on the fact like there was zero mention of their Unity partnership. Like none.
That's a good point.
Absolutely
Nada.
crickets.
Yeah.
Now they did mention a lot of like dynamic stuff that they're adding to their development pipeline, but it had nothing to do with Unity. So I'm reading tea leaves over here, but that doesn't bode super strong for Unity. And obviously, fast forwarding to the TLDR of the whole thing, they're open to making partnerships with other tech companies.
Obviously.
Yeah, and we'll get to that. But kicking off with the AVP announcement also kind of felt like we're going to throw this in the front because we don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it.
It did feel like that, but I'm glad they started with it because for me, like I watched that part, then took a little break.
Well, okay. Technically, they started with the Apple TV announcements of all their new shows and new seasons.
Technically, it was Apple TV. You're right.
Holy crap! I'm excited about that. They've got some new stuff coming out there. I'm excited to see Silo return. Like, there's a lot of that I was like, okay, this is. Well,
some of the new shows look really good. I'm like,
they do.
So
Apple knows how to make good content.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Yeah, I think from the Vision Pro announcement, I mean, I like the fact that you can pull some of the older photos and it's going to have depth. I mean, that's something you could already do on a lot of platforms. Like, remember how Facebook had implemented that in Meta?
Years ago.
3D images. Oh, this is years ago, right? But I'm like, okay, I'm digging that. And I like that they talked about the new camera.
Yes.
The Blackmagic? Well, no, was it?
No. So Canon is releasing, specifically, they're releasing a lens for spatial content.
Spatial lens.
Yes, a spatial lens.
Yeah.
That's great. That'll be amazing, I think, from photographers. My wife's a photographer. This is something that I think she would actually be interested in at least learning about, even though she may or may not go as far as like wanting a headset. Just the idea of being able to capture new content in experimental ways is something I think photographers are going to be interested in.
Well, they talked about the new lens with Canon. They talked about new workflows, which I thought was really interesting and good that they mentioned. Yeah, I mean, and I think that they talked about their first scripted piece that's going to be coming up, a fully immersive scripted piece when they're talking about immersive video.
Oh, they did say something. I was watching this in a coffee shop and honestly, I must have like totally skimmed over that. I remember something vaguely.
They had like a list of some of the content. They talked about What If and stuff like that from Marvel, but there is like their first fully scripted immersive video series called Submerged, which I'm really excited about. I mean, my roots in XR are actually in cinematic VR. So I'm excited to see more of that, scripted cinematic type of content in some ways.
Well, that's what they're hitting hard with. It kind of felt like as they went through, and this is true for the entire, for lack of a better word, keynote, right? Was they kept reiterating stuff that they've already said plenty of times. And it started to feel like kind of a beaten horse a little bit. I don't need to be told again that this is a good device for flying on an airplane. Like that was weird. Especially for a developers conference, I'm like, okay, maybe you have to reiterate this to someone who's coming into Apple for a demo who's never put on a headset before. Okay, cool. But do you really need to, in your developer conference, give all of the fluff reasoning behind it?
That's more of a PR play. I feel like that was like a pure PR play right there. And also, like, I don't know if you noticed this. So they were announced train support, which I'm like, great. I'm taking the Amtrak to Philly tomorrow. So great.
Joe Biden's going to be thrilled.
Well, the people on the East Coast, the civilized people on the East Coast that take the train, like myself.
New Yorkers are sitting there going, you want me to get mugged wearing a $3,500 headset? I don't
not
think
on the
so.
Metro, but the train. They showed more like a, Euro train. So I thought that was funny. But the airplane video is like a guy in the middle seat. I'm like, yeah, economy, middle seat, wearing the headset. I'm like, okay, I get it. So thought that was interesting. They also talked about, what's one of the other things they talked about? I can't remember.
The extension of if you have a MacBook, the screen extension. And that's a big deal for a lot of developers who are actually wanting to stay in headset while they develop. There's a lot of reason for people clamoring to get that type of extension. It's a good use case for even like business practices and like people who were doing like enterprise solutions. So I was glad to see that. It feels like something that should just be able to be rolled out. And I say that based on seeing what Meta has been able to do with the Quest 2. We're talking a couple of years ago when they first launched Workspaces, which I got an email 2 days ago that they're relaunching Workspaces and they're simplifying it to make it easier for everyone to join. I haven't gone as far as to like look into that further because it just kind of went into my inbox and I put it.
I mean, you and I have played around in Workspaces like a long time ago. It used to be called something else.
We had a client, a pretty large client, who demanded to do their meetings in Workspaces just as an experimental tool for a little while. And it was considerably successful for the time. I mean, obviously rough around the edges, needed a little bit of like simplification, but I don't know. It just still feels like the Vision Pro, not on hardware, but just on its software capabilities, is still playing catch up, which is really strange.
Oh yeah, I agree with you on that. I was happy to see the international rollout announced, the actual dates, the countries.
China, Japan, Singapore are the first, then Australia. Yeah.
And UK. So like, I know a lot of people listen to us in a lot of these countries. So very excited that you guys are going to get access to it. I think it's just going to help with more people getting their hands on these devices. We'll see what happens. So we'll see how it rolls out internationally and how many units they sell. We've mentioned a million times, this is a version 1. This is not supposed to be a mass market product.
No, it's not a mass market product. You're either bullish or bearish on these things. And I'm tipping from bullish to bearish because I'm not seeing the development support like we saw with the iDevices, right? So like the thing with the first iPhone was it wasn't a great phone. It just genuinely wasn't. It was the iPhone 3G that everyone got in line with. And that came out a year after the iPhone was announced, right? So what they did in that year is they heavily supported developers on like, hey, get more apps, make really creative apps. And the cost of entry for development on this thing, especially with have a Unity Pro license, is now so high that you're not even getting the fun, goofy apps that made the first iPhone worth it. Like, remember that beer drinking app where you like, it looked like a can of beer, you tilted it and it like just went away. It was just a simple application. It was goofy. Everyone refers to it because I think everyone remembers that being like one of the first silly apps that they downloaded. No one is really wanting to go through the hurdles and expenses that it currently costs to develop for the AVP to make an app that is just for fun. And those are the things that I think are currently missing from the App Store.
I mean, I had a friend that had like, this sounds horrible, but like a farting app, and he was very successful.
Yeah.
Like, I don't see anyone developing that for Vision Pro because that's like a very expensive kind of...
The barrier to entry is too high. So I don't know. I'm glad to see that they're going forward with it. I think they kind of have to. And I do think the tides will turn. Let me be clear.
Yeah, I think it's just really early. It's really early. We'll have to see. I thought they were going to do more of a tie-in between spatial and AI. They didn't, so I was a little kind of sad about that. I expected more. But yeah, let's get into the meat of it. And like what people are really interested in, which is Apple Intelligence. I don't love that. I don't love that. I do love the idea of the personal intelligence, like those sorts of things. I don't like the Apple Intelligence branding.
I was in a coffee shop watching this with headphones, and I may have verbally cussed right there in the middle of the coffee shop as soon as they said Apple Intelligence. I was like, oh, these people went and hijacked the letters AI.
Right. Yeah.
Don't call it VR, it's spatial computing. Okay, I can get behind that. Like, cool. I get it. Totally on board. But you just straight up reorganized the acronym.
I'm not down with that. I'm sorry. That one, I was like, Arr.
That was a level of arrogance, especially with their later announcement.
How is that surprising, though? It's so Apple. Like, come on.
Yes, But again, to the TLDR, we're going to talk about their partnership with OpenAI and ChatGPT. But they literally have to partner with a company with AI in the title to make their stuff work. So it does feel like an edge too far.
Well, I think they internally use machine learning. Like they use,
and that's what I expected. I totally
expected a lot of that. But like Apple Intelligence, I'm just not down with that one. Like,
yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of like bloggers and influencers in the space come in and just be like, okay, really?
It's a meme. Like to me, it's like, Samsung Intelligence, and it's going to be like Pringles Intelligence. Like I could see that just being like, I don't know.
I don't think the industry is going to let go of the letters. That's really it.
They're here
you know
to
what
stay.
I mean?
Yeah.
Like it was very clever when Apple came out with the fill in the blank, right? Like the iPod, and then it came iMessage and iMac and iBook and all of that. Cool. Okay, that was your branding. You did that. But man, just to hijack AI like that and just be like, this is ours now. We invented this. I was like, what?
Apple Intelligence. Yeah, obviously we want to chat about the ChatGPT integration, everything they announced there. Well, let's talk about that. And then I'll tell you about two other things they announced in the AI front that I thought at least piqued my interest.
Yeah, I had a couple of like...
Yeah, a couple of things that I think were really interesting. But because I had to like step away for a few seconds. At the moment, I was like, Lee, I got to jump on this call.
Yeah, you had to sit through all of the like useless emoji conversation.
I know,
like
I was
all
so
of
bored.
the fluffy
I was
crap.
So bored. I was like, oh, and you can do this, and you can change this notification. And then I'm like, I got to jump on the call during the most important part of the whole thing.
Fell apart as soon as
which I am going to rewatch, but I haven't had a chance today because I've been busy. But okay, so tell folks a little bit about the announcement they made.
What I didn't expect was there's technically a 2-tier AI announcement here, right? You've got what they've put together as their artificial intelligence, quote unquote, Apple Intelligence solution, whole new Siri. It is integrated throughout the applications. So Siri is now kind of this all-knowing entity within the Mac ecosphere. So you can ask Siri to do a thing. And right now, as I'm saying this over and over again, everyone's phones with Apple devices are all like going off all over the place. Sorry. You can ask for a task to be done, and it may have like layers of interactions that have to take place for Siri here. So Siri can now jump between a bunch of different applications. For an example, I could tell Siri like, hey, I'm reading this article. Can you summarize this and send the bullet points over to Cathy? That actually has a couple of different actions that have to take place. It knows how to take the information. It knows how to condense it into basically a TLDR and put it into an email, which would have to open up your email, or it could send it through an iMessage or whatever way you tell it to send it. Then it knows to send it to Cathy and say, hey, this is important. Look at it. And that's just like a really basic example. That's actually a really big deal that they downplayed, and I think it was the right way to go. If you watch the full Apple Intelligence side of the announcements, it looks so boring. There's nothing about how they've put it out there as just like, it's not the one more thing moment, right?
Well, there wasn't like a one more thing.
There wasn't. But the truth is like, I actually think this is the biggest thing they've done in a long time, because they finally did what you were asking for on the scale that they could, right? As opposed to AI is not going to do your dishes. But all of those little steps that you have to like flip back and forth through apps and interact with to do one point A to point B to point C, it now has a natural...
Well, that's a large action model.
It's a huge action model.
That's pretty much a large action model, what they announced. They just didn't use that. When they had the image for the announcement, it was action-packed. And I was like, oh my gosh, they're going to lean into action-based, into large action models. Makes total sense for, but that's exactly that. Telling it, do this, and then connect everything together and carry out these actions for me. So definitely very excited about that.
It's not a new idea we've heard. Like the Rabbit R1 sold itself on that. And by the way, rest in peace, Rabbit R1, because I don't see how you come back from like Siri being able to do this. This is absolutely mind-bending. But what was nice about it is they didn't present it like it was a big deal. They presented it like, this is how you will interact with your devices. And I think it was presented in a way where normal people will be interested, not excited. They made it as just this is a logical tool.
Use the word mass market function.
Yeah.
They crank it into a mass market function. And I was like, that's 100% true.
For that, I was really excited about. I was really excited about integrating image generation into things like your documents that you create. Keynote is huge. A few things stood out. They have a very limited palette of what style you can use. So this isn't like ChatGPT, DALL-E level, Mid-Journey level AI generation. That feels very limiting, like, oh, everyone's presentations are going to look the same. But as much as I've fought with generative AI image creation and specific stylings back and forth, it is kind of nice to know that there's going to be basically guardrails. So you get what you get. It's going to look good in the presentation, and you just kind of have to move on from there. But having that, to be able to just circle a blank space and be like, this presentation needs some filler based on what's here. And you don't even have to tell it what it is. Just say, hey, in this area, this needs an image. It looks at the slide. It adjudicates to itself what type of content is there, and it makes an image to fill in that blank space.
I love that. I absolutely love that. It cuts down on so much time, you know?
Yeah.
I agree.
I'm sure that there are presentation agencies around the world shrieking in terror. And hey, them's the breaks. That's how it goes.
That's how it goes. That's not a bad thing. So I was underwhelmed. And this is definitely bad cop, good cop here, because I was like so underwhelmed. I expected more from the Siri revamp. I thought that was going to be a lot more.
Maybe. I guess, what would you have preferred to see?
I don't know. I thought they were going to be like, it's Siri X, or they would change the name, or I don't know.
I'm glad that they didn't change. I mean, here's the thing. They've trained a society to use one word.
But how many people use Siri in reality?
As a person who just went back to an Android phone, not me.
Not you. I don't use Siri. I don't say Siri, well, blah, blah, blah. And sorry, we're waking her up everywhere, but I don't feel like that many people use her or it.
Maybe not, but maybe this is the jump start to make it more palatable. We'll see. I mean, obviously, these features will be rolled out in the next months to a year. So this doesn't happen today. Don't go to your phone and say, hey, they said that it would do this, and it's still telling me, the wrong directions to the Walmart.
Read my text, send the email.
Yeah, like it's just not going to do that right now. The thing that really got me is the voice. No update. It sounds so bad by modern standards.
Mm-hmm.
I thought for sure they were going to have a new, more realistic tonal voice, and it doesn't. It still sounds like the same generated voice that they've always had. But the fact that it can connect itself through all of these different directions, I guess I would put up with that. Yeah, I don't know. Especially considering all of past announcements they've made with being able to train it with your voice. They've got so much data that Siri should not sound
so robotic.
Yeah, so robotic. It should not sound like a GPS from 2005, and yet it still does. And that I expected to come with the new revamp. So more function.
Yeah.
I think that's what people needed. Okay, I do want to get to this. There was one thing that they announced. I expected to see better Apple Maps as well, and it was like, okay, I guess. They did add something for like trail features and things like that, but it was a pretty glossed over moment. It was in iMessage. And for iMessages, I'm not a big iMessage fan, but they did announce satellite access for iMessage. And as someone who living in the Pacific Northwest, we go camping a lot. We're out a lot. We are definitely off the grid on weekends, on hikes and doing stuff like that. And the fact that iMessage will now work with a satellite feed, meaning that I don't have to be close to a tower. I don't have to have cellular. I don't have to have 5G, but I can send and receive a text message via satellite from a safety situation. I'm so excited about that. I would really like to see that in other applications, and they just glazed right over that.
They just glazed over it. And like for people out there dating, there's no excuse.
Yeah.
There's no excuse. Like, oh man.
Yeah.
There's no excuse. You can still reach anyone.
You can reach anyone now.
Anywhere. So there's no excuse. If you're both on iPhone, woo.
Yeah. Well, and that was the other thing that they slipped in there. It also works for SMS.
Yeah.
So my wife and I, we go camping. We're off the grid all the time. I don't know. We get attacked by a bear, whatever. At least she can text message for help, right? Like that's just a really...
At least you'll know that, the private investigators will have a better... The detectives
they'll kind of know
what happened.
That's a big deal that they did that. And I am very curious as to like satellite-wise, how they're making that work. Because If it can send an iMessage, that's data over satellite. If you connect the dots, if it can send an iMessage over satellite, that means it can send data over satellite. If it can send data over satellite within time, it won't surprise me if they don't have their own data satellite system, which could go after things like Starlink, right?
Yeah. You bring up a great point. This is interesting because you mentioned that part. And that immediately leads me to think about another competitor, not Starlink, but I'm going to talk about something completely different.
Okay.
Chips.
Oh,
NVIDIA.
The chips. Yeah.
AI. Because obviously they don't like each other. I mean, it's like this interesting competition.
Yep.
So I'm thinking all these announcements, how everything's going to be powered, private cloud compute up for AI that they announced, all these sorts of, not the satellite thing. Like I'm moving away from that.
They threw a couple gauntlets today. And I don't know if people picked up on it or not, because they didn't loom over these things. They just kind of just tossed them out there like sprinkles, and you either picked up on it or you didn't. In the cloud compute on Apple Silicon. So let me explain this, because I came from Intel. I'm former Intel. I spent years there. The reason why Intel is such a big company is because, frankly, the cloud runs on Intel. Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud, all of those servers, those are Intel servers, right? So yes, there's an Intel versus AMD versus NVIDIA. You know, they're going to always try to claim as many screens as they can, but the cloud runs on Intel. Apple, as far as I know, at least for this generation of silicon, this is the first time they've ever announced Apple Silicon running a large size server. So their whole cloud compute on Apple Silicon being in quote unquote AI-based server that can filter and create and process your stuff, that's a big announcement. That means that they've moved into this server game and they're relying on their own silicon. That's not AMD. That's not Intel. It's definitely not NVIDIA. And they were just like, yeah, we're doing this for your privacy. And I'm sitting here like, that's a good sales pitch, but...
But, you know, we understand a little bit more. Like, I literally was just like, man, this is war. Like, if I'm NVIDIA or even Intel and I'm watching this, I'm like, interesting. Yeah. Read between the lines.
There were always whispers about Amazon breaking into the silicon space, too, and moving their Amazon Web Services, which is undeniably in the Western part of the world, the largest cloud computing servers in the nation. But they, as far as I'm aware of, they haven't really gotten that far. So seeing Apple just put their foot in it in a very specific way surprised me. And they've done all of this AI announcement, all of this cloud computing, all of this privacy, all these pieces where it intertwines in between all of the Apple-based applications. I actually said it in our Slack channel. I said, so far, there's not been a single mention about OpenAI with any of this. And then they're like, and BTW, we've partnered with ChatGPT because sometimes you need even more of a heavy lift.
Did they mention OpenAI by name? Because I missed that part.
No, they never said OpenAI. They said ChatGPT. And that is probably because they would love to own now 2 letters for marketing purposes. Whatever. It's such a wild situation. Yeah, but it's
interesting. They didn't say, now we're announcing our giant partnership with OpenAI. It was more like, let's talk about how we're integrating. They called it an integration, if I'm not wrong.
They did. I don't remember if they said partnership or not. Okay, so this is where things got confusing for me as someone who's like kept their ears close to the ground on this as possible. All right, so here's how it works. You have Apple Intelligence. It's baked into Siri. You can call it up at any time. It does all the magical stuff that we just talked about. However, it remembers the conversation you're currently having, but it doesn't store this type of information. It's very privacy-centric, which leads me to understand it as they also know that they can't scrape a bunch of information illegally online. And so they're building their own models based on what all of the people who have Apple devices who are going to leverage this thing are going to do. Totally makes sense. This is not their first rodeo. So when they started doing voice recognition back in the day, when Siri first came out, Siri didn't recognize all voices great because they were still learning what voices were by the iPhones that were going out. Now it recognizes voices just fine. They have to do the same thing with AI, and to not illegally scrape data, they're going to have to start from the ground up, which means it's going to have very limited options on its instant generative creativity, but it's going to be able to weave itself between apps very well because they know how to do that. They have that data legally. For anything else that might need a little bit of a boost, that's where they're leveraging a partnership or an integration with ChatGPT. So you can tell Siri, hey, I want this. And Siri will say, if you really want this, I'm going to put this through ChatGPT. Do you agree to doing that? Now, the data that comes back, who knows where that data has been scraped from? That's a ChatGPT problem. That's no longer an Apple problem, right?
It's an integration. They're a partner.
It's an integration. Their hands are clean. So I thought that was really interesting of like, okay, you're going to give me the option to leverage ChatGPT. It's baked in. Mm-hmm. You don't have to like go download the ChatGPT app, but that's just how it works. Now, here's where this gets confusing for me. We just watched ChatGPT's 4.0 launch and announcements, a month ago? And in it, their big reveal was, and they only announced it for Mac, a ChatGPT desktop application that had all of this stuff integrated, basically what they're already showing with now Siri. Now, that desktop integration has rolled out to Plus members, and they're slowly rolling it out to their free tier and things like that. So it's kind of in beta. I don't understand why you need the desktop application for Mac OS if it's going to be baked into the operating system as they just announced at WWDC. That I'm completely perplexed by. I don't get that. And that's why I was a little bit surprised to see this announcement, because obviously ChatGPT announced the Mac OS desktop app a month ago.
Maybe they rushed. I think, who knows? Who knows what happened behind closed
doors?
doors?
There's no way this conversation wasn't happening a month ago.
Yeah, legally, there's no way.
It's just not possible. The big old questions are, I don't know what this means for their relationship with Microsoft.
That was my big question, is like, what does this mean? And then, I don't know if you noticed this, and I did notice this on some of the things I watched afterwards. I think that Apple also said they will eventually support other models.
They did say that.
So like that to me is like, we are dating OpenAI, but we're going to date other models, right? There's going to be other models that might get integrated or we might use. So I'm like, interesting.
I think Apple may be looking at AI like I look at AI. And that's strange. And I've never really explained this to people because it couldn't be proven. But I look at AI as we understand it, right? ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever your flavor is, as the new web browser. Not just the web search, but the new web browser. It's the way that we will connect to information on the internet. And if you look at Apple's approach to this, it very much feels like a web browser approach. Apple supports multiple web browsers on all of their devices, even if it's not to the betterment of Apple, right? Like they don't force you to use Safari, thank God.
You don't have to use Safari. I mean, I use Chrome or Firefox sometimes, depending on what it is I'm doing.
Right. You can use any of those web browsers or any search engine you'd like. You know, they don't limit that. They could, and it would probably be a devastating decision to make. But if Microsoft said Windows is going to support access to all of these different AIs, no one would blink. No one would think twice about it, right? It would almost feel like, well, of course they should, because they're an operating system, they should do that. So it doesn't surprise me if Apple looks at it and goes, okay, we're going to supply our own Siri-based intelligence. This is what we're going to do. We want this to be the thing you use. We're going to make this the underlying of the operating system. But of course, we're going to support all of the other AI browsers, for lack of a better word. I think if you look at it under that context, it doesn't feel as surprising.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're going to have to see. I mean, I do think they're definitely going to support other models. It was just interesting that they weaved it into the announcement like that.
Yeah, it was very subtle. There's a lot of subtlety in this one where I was like, oh, I'm excited about that. Please don't talk about emojis again. I like,
yeah.
That
part. I was like, am I really sitting through this right now? Like, okay, great.
There was so much like fluff while they just shadow dropped stuff in the background you wanted to know more about. You know, They said a lot about the Apple Watch where I was like,
calculator and stuff.
Okay, can we just take a moment? For those who've not realized, the iPhone launched with the calculator app. It's never changed. The iPad's never had it, which is just absolutely insane. It's a calculator. So they finally add the calculator app. They kind of nod to how ridiculous it's been since they haven't done it. But not only do they add the calculator app, they add the biggest reason to get an Apple Pencil.
Yes.
Like that math application that they packaged into it. Holy crap.
That was amazing. I have to say, I'm like, okay.
I'm glad that they stuck on that for a little while because it was a big deal. For those who missed it, go back and watch it because the calculator app on the iPad now has a handwriting math application where you can literally draw out math problems and change variables.
Which is fantastic. Fantastic. I mean, for my kids.
It's a magic trick. Like, it's a mathematical magic trick. I am infinitely upset at every algebra teacher and every calculus teacher I've ever had who's like, you will not have a calculator with you at all times. I'm like, you're right. I've got something way better. This is one of those things where it's like, does Texas Instruments still exist because it's Cell? Like, this is insane. It was mind-boggling how cool it was.
Only geeks like us are going to geek out over this.
Yeah,
it was, oh my gosh, the calculator.
The calculator integration was just...
Yeah.
Colleges should just hang it up. It was so good.
It was so good. Between the note-taking that AI can do during class and then this, I'm like, okay, well, what's going to happen?
If you just add wheels to it or like attach it to a drone and let it go to class for you, you're done.
You're done. You're good. Just send me the notes. Let me know what they covered.
It was absolutely incredible. I'm really looking forward to all of the writing integration of AI as a writer. I think anyone who writes for a living should be super jazzed about all of the Apple Intelligence for writing that they're baking in.
I can't believe you're using it, but okay, Apple Intelligence.
I don't want to use it, but I also know not to fight these things. Like, whatever. I don't have to like it. I can use Apple Intelligence and artificial intelligence both ways. Those integrations are going to be great. It brings up questions for like companies like Grammarly. Like, what do they do?
You know what I did? I just canceled my subscription. I'm going to be honest. Like, after you made that comment, I was like, why do I keep paying for this? It was like a yearly thing. So I still have it till next year. But I'm like, where is this going to go?
Yeah. They're slowly chipping away at apps that have served a very valuable purpose, but now should be rolled into an operating system because it can be. I mean, it's what I've been using ChatGPT for. I've been very open and honest about that. I don't use it to generate content, but I definitely use it all the time to edit my stuff because why wouldn't I? It's so much faster. And just so to see that going to be baked right into it, if it does that for basic document creation, Microsoft does need to step it up. They need to bake this stuff in. Microsoft invented, I mean, they didn't invent, but like they perfected spell check, right? Like that was where the world enveloped with spell check and was just like, yes, this is ours. We're never letting go. The little red line that comes below the word as you misspell it, that came from Microsoft. They've really got to get on the ball and get this level of integration into Microsoft Docs because this can be the thing. I believe this. If they don't, this will be the thing that the C-suite finally gives in over. Because you and I have had this conversation with C-suites. They don't want to leave Microsoft Docs. They don't want to leave Microsoft applications. They don't want to leave this stuff. They know it. They don't want to learn anymore. I get that. But if Apple creates basically an Office suite that starts fixing your emails and your grammar and more than just spell check and does better formatting and it does it out the gate and you can write those briefs that much faster, that C-suite's going to leave so fast it'll make your head spin. Like there's no reason to stay.
There's no reason to stay. I agree. So on that note, let's go on break. And then when we get back, we're going to talk about some new hardware news in the XR space, as well as IKEA and Roblox and Dispatch from the Fringe. So let's go ahead and go on break.
This message is brought to you by Warner Brothers Discovery Advertising. And this is more than an ad. This is an invitation to be part of the stories the world can't stop watching, to connect with moments that dominate the conversation, to participate in culture, not just advertise around it. With the most sought-after IP, passionate audiences, and an advanced AI-powered foundation, WBD advertising transforms attention into influence and impressions into outcomes. This is innovation. This is impact. This is opportunity. This is Warner Brothers Discovery Advertising. Visit advertising.wbd.com to learn more.
Blowing ad budget on metrics that look great till the CFO sees them? That's bull spend. And marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
I remember telling my boss, it'll be good for the brand, when leads were slow. Yeah, it wasn't.
Cut the bull spend. LinkedIn lets you target by company, job title, and more. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Business is booming. But you know what really helped? Xero, the accounting platform for small businesses. I used to think unpaid bills were just part of it. Ugh. But batch payments? Wow. Automated accounts payable? Even better. All in one place. That's a big one. And I can keep track from my phone while I get the job done. No bills in sight. What a life. Do right by yourself and your business and search XERO for your free trial. Conditions apply.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
All right, Lee. So we're back, moving away from the Apple thing, unless you have anything else to add.
No, I've said it all. And by the time this goes live on Wednesday, this will be old news, right? Like that's...
No, I think there's great insight from both of us on things that people might not be thinking about. So yeah, I'd like read between the lines kind of stuff. So I did come across a post. I think he tweeted it and someone posted it on LinkedIn because I don't do X as much. X, former Twitter, whatever.
But why? It's the town square of the internet.
I don't know anymore. But Palmer Luckey, who is the creator of Oculus, who's sold Oculus for a couple $1 billion to Facebook, now Meta, has announced that he's working on new hardware and a new headset, new head-mounted display. I thought that was interesting.
Yes, and
is he trolling us or no?
No, I don't think he's trolling us. He made 2 hardware announcements, and this was very strange. So let's set aside the XR part for a moment. He made an announcement for a Game Boy clone.
Okay, I thought you were going to say something from his AI defense.
No, this was so far off the beaten path.
Was he being true or is he trolling us?
No, it was absolutely true.
Because I could definitely see, like from the XR side, I can definitely see him getting funding for a new device, being that he did sell this to Meta.
He announced something, it's a retro game console. And it is based off of the classic Nintendo Game Boy, a retro mod chromatic. It looks like a Game Boy. Like it looks just like a modern Game Boy with a modern screen. It's got a whole new system built in. This was literally announced days ago. And it'll play old Game Boy cartridges, but they're re-releasing improved versions of these games on their own cartridges. So like they're selling the hardware. The hardware is like $199. Now I know this weird side of like, I'm a big retro game fan. Everyone who knows me knows this. My Atari collection will beat up your Atari collection. Don't even try. But Game Boy is my second game addiction. I have an absurd Game Boy collection. And it was my first personal console. Like the Atari was like hand me down, but like the Game Boy, that was mine. And so I've kind of also in the background been in this like Game Boy mod community. We've been working and improving Game Boys for a decade now. So to see something like this come out for $199, this is about what a modded Game Boy comes out for. So like they've got a good price point, and it just threw me through a loop. I saw the announcement come through and I was like, cool, it's another Game Boy clone, whatever. And then I watched the trailer for it and Palmer Luckey's face pops up and he starts talking about his new Game Boy device. So that was the first announcement. Immediately followed by this XR announcement. So he had a busy week.
A busy hardware week.
Both ends of the technology spectrum, retro gaming to the future of gaming.
See, I missed the retro gaming one because I guess I wasn't paying attention to that part. But then the XR part, I was like, this is interesting. I could definitely see him talking to VCs and getting funding for this. He did it once, and I'm bullish on the hardware because I know like he knows it well.
Palmer Luckey's a hardware guy. It was very well established. What it tells me is his agreement with Meta must have expired.
Yes, any type of exclusivity.
Yes, because there was an agreement in place that said you cannot work in the hardware of this space.
Yeah, he was doing AI defense, which is...
Yeah, he was doing AI defense, instead. So that tells me whatever agreement he had with Meta is now over.
I bet he was ready to jump. The VCs were probably like, we're ready, let's do this, right? With them all investing in some of the other companies, like Costal Ventures investing in Rabbit R1, and then Humane, which raised a lot of money.
And if I'm not mistaken, aren't all of the original Oculus founders gone now?
Yeah. I believe they are. They're all somewhere else.
I mean, I don't know if the Beatles can get back together, but we'll see. Because when John Carmack left, I thought, he didn't ever say this out loud, that it was because of the Oculus Pro, the Quest Pro. He pretty much confirmed that in an article this week, that he was very upset with the release of the Quest Pro, and that had a lot to do with it. So seeing that kind of come to play, and now there's an XR device, and if I can look 3 seconds into the future, it wouldn't surprise me. If you're creating an XR device, you're creating it for enterprise market right now. So we'll see. I don't know. I have no idea.
Palmer definitely knows a lot, like working with defense, working with government, industry, enterprise. Definitely could see that, especially with the HoloLens project not going so well, the defense one. So let's see what happens. Let's keep our eyes on that. Very interested in that. I do want to kind of talk now about Roblox, which we love. Our friends at Roblox are doing amazing things. And a few of our friends there just got recognized in Ad Age and Adweek. So congratulations.
I completely missed this. You're going to have to tell me about this.
Yeah, there were some tech and innovation leaders recognized. One of their VPs was a friend of ours. And then I think it was Ad Age as well that had another list and recognized one of our friends there as well. So yeah, congratulations to Roblox on all those recognitions. I do want to talk a little bit about the launch that they did with IKEA. IKEA has launched into Roblox. And the kicker here is it's not just any other company launching in Roblox. This time they're actually going to be hiring people to work the Roblox store and making, I think, for $15 an hour or something.
17.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. They have to be based in the UK, though, I believe. So
I don't know. That feels very dystopian to me.
You got to grow your virtual GDP. That's a big conversation I'm having right now with companies and brands. It's like, are you thinking your virtual GDP? I mean,
okay, so I don't have kids, right? But you have kids. You've got one who's going into high school. As a parent, would you rather your kid's first job be out in the workforce, learning how to communicate with people, being part of society, all of the things that have to... Granted, there's more danger in doing that too, because you're out in the real world. You got to drive to work and all this other stuff. Or I serve virtual meatballs at an IKEA for $17 an hour.
That's a good point. But I think they have to be 18 and up, don't they? They have to be
in the
UK
don't know.
and 18 and up
Yeah.
to get access to that job. No, but I definitely would prefer my kids, like we're looking at next summer being a lifeguard or doing the check-in desk at their pool. Like, no, I'm all for the human-to-human interaction and stuff. But I thought it was funny. It made it different than other Roblox launches. They got a lot of coverage because of that.
I'm skimming through the article that you had sent right now, and what definitely stuck out to me is that IKEA workers, actual employees at physical IKEA stores, cannot apply to double dip their salaries.
Oh my God.
Come on.
Well, rules are rules. The legal team, I'm sure. The legal team went through that.
It's a weird future.
It's a weird future. An interesting one indeed. I do want to go over to the Fringe with Lily, our producer, who has a really interesting dispatch from the Fringe. So Lily, take it away.
Hello, Cathy and Lee. Welcome to this week's Dispatch from the Fringe. In today's episode, I'm bringing you a story from NPR about the Miss AI beauty pageant. Well, it's not a beauty pageant, but it is a pageant for artificial intelligent human beings, mostly ones on Instagram. These are human-looking AI people that have followings and post videos and talk about themselves. The AI pageant is put on by FanView, a UK-based online creator platform. So the contestants, since they're AI, have no physical real-world presence, but they do on social media, primarily Instagram. They're very photorealistic looking images of mostly beautiful young women. So even though it's AI and it's an AI pageant, it's still falling into stereotypical norms. One of the judges, a beauty pageant historian and one of the judges for the Miss AI pageant, Sally Ann Fawcett, wants to judge the AI for their messaging and what's going on in their inside, not just their looks. Because if you're AI, why not look gorgeous to your cultural norms? However, there's a cash prize to the winners, the creators of the AI agents, the AI people, influencers, of $5,000. A panel of 4 judges is selected of 10 finalists from 1,500 submissions. So we will see who wins Miss AI pageant. FanView co-founder Will Monage said that that's a beauty of the AI creator space. It's enabling creative people to enter the creator economy with their AI-generated creations without having to be the face of it themselves. And that is your dispatch from the Fringe.
All right. So AI beauty pageants. Models versus AI. I mean, interesting.
I'm going to get hate mail for this, but I'm going to say it anyways. It kind of goes to show you how like beauty pageants really are just skin deep. Why not just make the judges also AI and the Miss Pageant participants AI, and then just the computer can adjudicate itself? We just stay out of it. We don't even have to know what happens. I don't even need to know it occurred. Just let it, at some point, what are we doing here?
What are we doing here? I don't know. You know what the funny thing is? I think of like large language models, large action models, and then I'm like, this is like AI models. And I'm like, which model is it?
Is Siri hot? I don't know. Do I need to know? No. I'm glad that it's functional.
I don't want to know.
Yeah. I was the one who found that article and sent it over to Lily.
You're like, for the Fringe? We're like, yes, for the Fringe.
Yes, because I just looked at it and was like, but why? My least favorite saying, and I've had it said to me as well, is you have too much time on your hands when you make something creative. I've always despised that saying. Someone does something a little strange or esoteric or creates some art that you don't understand, and the societal reaction is, oh, this person had too much time on their hands because they don't see the value in it. I've always despised that saying. We've all heard it. But in this case, maybe we have too much time on our hands.
No, I agree.
It feels weird.
It feels weird. Weird future. Weird futures we're going into. So yeah, for next week, I'm actually going to be flying to Cannes, to the Cannes Lions Festival. So I will not be joining the pod next week. So it'll be you and maybe a guest co-host.
I can make some phone calls.
I know. So we'll see. We'll see what we have in store for next week. But I will definitely be sending a quick little dispatch from Cannes Lion for you to include in the podcast. But yeah, we'll be back next week. Anything you're excited about in the next couple of days?
My new Pixel phone. I'm so jazzed.
You really are?
I am.
It's hard for me to think about getting excited for Android, but that's just me.
It's the keyboard. I type so much better on a Pixel phone. If WWDC would have announced an improved responsive keyboard today, I probably would have sent it back. I hate typing on my iPhone.
Really?
I really do.
Because I don't know any better, and I'm just so used to it. I'm like, that's how you do it.
As soon as I switched back, all of my typos went away. I was like, oh, this is... I mean, immediately. It was immediate.
But who cares? ChatGPT is going to correct everything for you
You might be right. You're probably right.
Who cares?
You're right. When you're right, you're right.
I don't know. Well,
all right. Have a great week. We'll be back next week.
Everyone. We'll be back next week. Thank you for joining us for Tech Magic. Come for the tech, stay for the magic. We'll be back next week.
Are your ad campaigns lighting up the dashboard, but not the pipeline? That's bullspend, and marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
My boss asked for results, so I opened my dashboard for the only positive-sounding metric I had: impressions.
Cut the bull spend. See revenue, not just reach. LinkedIn delivers the highest return on ad spend of major ad networks. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Did you know that passive fixed income ETFs only capture about 50% of the U.S. public bond market? But with JP Morgan Asset Management's active fixed income ETFs, we can help you capture 100% of the U.S. public bond market and explore twice as many opportunities. Visit jpmorgan.com/getactive to learn more. JP Morgan Asset Management is the brand name for the asset management business of JP Morgan Chase & Company and its affiliates worldwide. This communication is issued by JP Morgan Distribution Services Incorporated, member of FINRA.
Business is booming. But you know what really helped? Xero, the accounting platform for small businesses. I used to think spreadsheets were just part of it. Ugh. But real-time cash flow? Wow. Invoices that chase themselves? Even better. Books that automate? That's a big one. And I can keep track from my phone while I get the job done. No spreadsheet in sight. What a life. Do right by yourself and your business and search XERO for your free trial. Conditions apply.